My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Mission Impossible 3. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But whenever people talk about this franchise, they talk about the fourth movie, the fifth movie, the sixth movie, and rightfully so. Those movies are incredible. They also talk about the seventh movie, but this is the one that slips through the cracks. And it's a damn shame because this movie is great. It's a movie I have always found to be underrated and it just deserves more love. So let's begin by talking about the cast. And Tom Cruise honestly gives one of his best performances here. Like that opening scene, he is so good. Like he is showing every emotion possible, and you can just feel his desperation to regain control over this situation, and he just sells you on it so perfectly. He also carries this movie incredibly well, and he brings emotional weight when needed. So he's fantastic here, but it's Philip Seymour Hoffman who actually stole the show. Like, this guy is barely even in this movie. He's in, like, what, four scenes, I think? The opening, the Vatican, the plane, and the ending. Like, that's it. But you feel his presence, and he just leaves you with such an impact because this guy is so dark and so menacing, and Philip Seymour Hoffman is giving one of his best performances here. Michelle Monaghan, I thought, did a pretty good job. She's not in the movie too much, but she does everything that she needed to do perfectly. Billy Crudup, I like him when he's meant to be good. I don't think he's all that convincing when he's bad. So I guess he does a fine job. I like the way his character is written, but it's not a great performance. Ving Rhames is just very likable as Utho. He brings plenty of personality to him, and I like that scene where he's talking to Ethan about why he shouldn't get married, and Ethan is just like, I got married 2 days ago. And Luther is just like, congratulations. Just a really funny moment. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is pretty generic. He doesn't stand out too much. Same with Maggie Q. She really doesn't bring too much to this movie. Lawrence Fishburne, I thought, was great. I wish he was in more movies in this franchise because he just has that kind of screen presence, and he definitely stood out. Simon Pegg as Benji is barely in this one, but there's a reason why they kept him around. It's because he just has so much personality, he is so funny, and I just really like whenever he's on screen. Kerry Russell is actually quite good here. She's barely in the movie, but she still leaves an impact. And even though he's barely a character here, it's still nice to see Aaron Paul. So the cast does do a great job, but what really stands out about this movie is just how much more personal it feels compared to the other movies in this franchise. Like, this movie is all about Ethan's relationship with Julia, about how his lies affect him, how his lies affect her, how his job affects her, and him just trying to live a normal life. And I actually think it's a really great character study. There's one scene where Ethan comes home after witnessing someone he cared about die, and you can tell he's acting like he's fine, but he's really not. And I love how almost all the stakes in this movie revolve around Ethan and his wife. So there's some great writing here. Like I mentioned earlier, I thought Oren was a really great villain. I do like the Musgrave twist in how you think that Lawrence Fishburne is the bad guy, but nope, it turns out it's Billy Crudup. It's well done. I like how this movie plays around with the voice aspect of the impossible mission more. Like, he has to take Owen's voice and make it so he can sound like him, but there's also a time limit and how he loses Lawrence Fishburne's voice later on. There's some neat little moments here. And I do think this movie is very well directed by J.J. Abrams. It looks great, it sounds great, and I already mentioned the opening scene, but it really is a great opening. It sets the tone so perfectly for this movie, and this movie is filled with other great moments. I like the rescue mission at the beginning and the helicopter chase that follows. Lindsay's death, I thought, was quite effective in just how painful it was leading up to it, and then how sudden her death was. The Vatican City aspect of the plot is very entertaining. I love the scene on the plane where Ethan is on the verge of dropping Owen. A truly great, intense moment. The bridge scene is very thrilling. The scene of Ethan trying to get to the hospital is very high stakes. The tower stunt is fantastic. Like, you gotta keep in mind, this came out in 2006. This is before the Dubai scene. This is before the underwater mission in the fifth one. This is before the Halo jump in Fallout. So, this stunt might not be too impressive now, but it did kind of set the stage for future movies in this franchise. I love how it's followed up with Ethan dropping the rabbit's foot on the street and how he's trying to call Owen but he doesn't have a signal. I love when Ethan is talking to Benji as he's trying to find Julia. And that final fight is so good. Like, it's fantastic. Ethan has the bomb in his head and we know how this could end, and he's trying to defend Julia, but he's getting his ass kicked, but he's then motivated by Julia, and then he kills himself just for Julia to save him. Like, it might be smaller scale, but I truly love the ending of this movie. And speaking of which, I think this movie has effective uses of setup and payoff. The movie can also be quite funny, so there is plenty to like here. But I do wish we saw Ethan in that tower. It just feels off that they focus on the team instead of Ethan, who's actually on the impossible mission, and it always pisses me off whenever I watch this movie. But that's really my that's my only real issue with this movie. Like, I think it has some solid emotion. I like the personal story. There's some great character study work here. The cast does a great job. The villain is a real standout. There's tense and thrilling moments. It's just a really great, underrated movie that truly deserves more love. So I'm giving Mission Impossible 3 an 8 out of 10. Okay, Mission Impossible 3. Have you seen it? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin out.